Last video, I tried painting my 3D printed Skaven as albino rats, and I was not happy with how they turned out at all. I was getting so frustrated with how they were turning out, how it looked, so I thought the best thing to do was to grab the Skaventide box, which had just come out the weekend that I finished, and test it out on those models instead, thinking that maybe this was a 3D model issue and not exactly a color scheme issue. So in this video, I plan to recreate my color scheme on the new Skaventide models and see if I like it much better or if maybe it was something that I was doing wrong. So let's try it out and get painting. I decided to do something a little bit different with this one. I originally planned to only do the exact same way that I painted my previous Skaven on these new models. However, thanks to this incredible community of painters pouring in advice and other ways to try doing Albino Skaven, I thought I should give it a try as well and try out all the different ways that you guys have recommended to do this and see which one I like the best. First, I'm going to try a mid-tone gray base where we dry brush up to a bright white. The second one will be a cold blue base, which then we dry brush up to white. The third was a dark purple plum shadow to pink base, and then dry brushing white on top of that. And then the final one that I will try will be my original one where I started with a really light pink going up to white. Immediately looking at this, I'm already really favoring the darker plum purple pink. I think that just is a color that I resonate with more. I think that would really give it a really nice undertone, but I'm not going to give up on any of the others just yet because who knows what it'll turn out when everything is painted. I just finished putting on the 4 different types of fur that I was testing for my Albino Skaven. And right now, I'm actually feeling pretty good. Mostly about 2 of the 4 of them I think are actually working out really well. I just don't know which one I think is going to be the overall best until I see them all with the armor done. The ones that I'm really favoring right now are the darker pink toned with the dry brushing white on top, and surprisingly, my original one where I had the really light pink on top of a white base coat and then dry brushing on more white after that. It's it's really reading brighter now, and I think these models are actually making a difference, just the way that they're designed and the actual plastic versus the resin. Maybe I was doing something wrong with the resin before, I'm not sure, but I feel like I'm definitely seeing a difference. The other two with the blue, I think the blue just doesn't read albino to me. It's still hard to tell when like the armor also looks blue, but to me I'm just not really seeing that. And then the gray I think is too dark, even with a ton of dry brushing. I feel like I did more layers of dry brushing on that, and it still didn't feel light enough for albino, if that makes sense. So now the plan for tomorrow is to keep working on the armor. Only this time I'm going to use the advice of pretty much everyone on my previous video, where I'm going to block in all the armor first in black and then dry brush or paint on the colors after that. It just doesn't make any sense to paint it on white, and I don't think a need to sort of recreate it with this new model anyway. I think that'll really solve just a ton of my problems. I'm excited to keep going. Let's do it. I am already noticing such a big difference between these models and sculpts versus the ones that I 3D printed previously. They have much more chainmail and much more cloth than the others did. And it's much more obvious to tell the difference between them. Maybe this was something that I had done wrong with the 3D print itself, where the details just weren't coming out as well. I'm not sure, but it's already a clear difference and reads way better once you start putting the colors on. Thankfully, I chose for the model that I was doing my original recreation of my paint scheme, that model looks extremely similar to the ones that I'd done previously, because some of these don't even have armor at all on their backs and only have the chainmail, because I did not plan that. I originally wanted to also experiment with the different armor colors as well, because I wasn't sure if I was married to the steel look. Once I started putting on a lighter silver color and things like that, I immediately backtracked. I did not like how that was looking whatsoever, and just decided to do steel and try one with copper to see if that made a difference. Next was the cloth. I'm sticking with the red because I really liked how the red turned out in my previous color scheme. That's one of the few things that I enjoyed from the last one. I think that matches well with the red of their eyes and the whole albino coloring scheme in general. First blocking in that darker maroon red color, and then going up until I have a bright red on the parts where the sun would shine the most. I've lately gotten this really good appreciation for painting cloth in general. I've been really enjoying making these really drastic contrasts, and I feel like cloth and like rippling cloth has been the best way to sort of practice that, because they have really obvious delineations between what should be more in shadow and what should be more in light. And it's been a lot of fun to practice and work with. Not only have I been doing it here, but I've been also doing it on some of the things that I've been live streaming with my battle sisters or my adeptus sororitas and their cloaks. Okay guys, so I'm nearly done with them. All I really have to do is basing now and a little bit of the finer details like highlighting and just sort of looking at them to make sure that I have everything done, since I always miss stuff. I'm already enjoying the way these models look so much more than my 3D printed ones. Like, yeah, I got those for free, but I think these just have more interesting things to look at. I think the fur looks better. I think the chainmail looks better. I think the cloth looks better. And while I do think there was a way to sort of fix and change the way that I painted, I think this was more of a model issue personally than it is a painting issue. Although I do think obviously there are things that I improved and can improve in the future with these. I also think that these models in general on both of them are just really small, and it's really hard to get any sort of reading on albinism if you're looking at something so small. Anyway, they're so covered in all of their armor and gear that it's hard to tell. I think if I were to start painting some of the larger models with this, it would read even better and even more obviously than these two, because these, they look like white rats, but they don't scream albino to me. Maybe I need to make their eyes more red, although I can't imagine any more red than this bright red on white. I think it's also something that I have to sort of accept, that the clan rats are not going to read like, whoa, that's a giant albino rat, than say the rat ogres or something like that are going to show. So now I'm actually really curious to try those models to see if it comes out any different. So let me finish this last little bit and then we can do an official final review of everything that I've done and we can decide which one we like best. Let's finish. Last but not least, we're going to be basing them the exact same way that I based them previously in my last video. So I say exactly, and I mean almost exactly. I was getting so frustrated in my last video with the last test. I just wanted it to be done and look semi-presentable. So while I know I should have blocked in, blah, 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 I didn't, because I just wanted it to be over. This time, I'm gonna do it correctly. I've decided to block in the black and the edge in all black, and then put in the glue so that I can add the grass texture and then the tufts, and they are done. And here they are, all completed. It's already pretty obvious to me which ones are based off of pinks and purples and which ones are not. I think, honestly, all of them turned out really well and fairly consistent for the most part, and I think anyone that you decide to choose would be a good choice, which I was honestly really surprised about. I thought they would be huge differences and I would really not like some of them. Surprisingly, I think that they all read albino. I think in the end, the really light pink base that I had originally done and the deeper purple base that I did look nearly identical. The most of the difference that you can see are in the deeper recesses of the thicker fur, especially on the arm of the one that I did in the deeper purple. You can tell that there is more shadow in there versus the one that I did in really light pink. Now, does this make a big enough difference to say this one looks albino and this one doesn't? I don't think so. I think this one honestly comes down to personal preference, and I'm honestly not sure which one I prefer more. I think I might actually prefer the lighter pink option slightly over the darker purple and pink option. I think it just makes it brighter to me, which would make it then more albino looking, but the other one looks so similar that unless you're being extremely nitpicky, which I'm trying to be for this review, it looks identical. Next, the other two, the gray and the cool blue. These are the ones that I didn't think would work the best. And yes, I rate them lower so far. I do think that they have huge merits and could be used if you want it. The blue, I think, gives off too much of a cooler blue tone compared to the pink of their hands and their feet. Like, I know this pink is also cool, but it still doesn't quite match up, I think. The darker gray to white is slightly better and I think works, and I think makes them look a little bit more grimy and dirty, which, if that's how you want your Skaven to look, like super like rolling around in the mud but they're still albino, I think that would be the way to go. It's something that I really considered, but I think in the end, for my Skaven army, I wanted them to be a little bit brighter reading than the gray. Overall, I'm way more pleased with the way these turned out than the way the other one did. I think the fact that I was immediately painting something that that I was enjoying more than the other kind of shows. I tried painting these nearly the exact same way that I painted the other ones, but since I was enjoying painting it so much more, I didn't even realize that I was spending more time on little details where I was just getting really frustrated with the others and putting it down and walking away. And in the end, I think that's probably the biggest thing to take away from this, is that if you're enjoying what you're painting, you work better at it, you work harder on it, and you end up enjoying it more, even if it looks maybe really close to the other one that you did. So in the end, I think my personal preference will be the light pink to white color scheme. However, all of these other options are fantastic, and I thank everyone for having me push and try these different options, because there's no way I would know otherwise unless I gave it a try. And I think it's really, really important to, if you want to improve the way you paint, to see how these other colors interact with each other and how it'll end up reading and looking in the end. Like, I think this taught me so much about colors and how to use them to make the effect that you want. I also think in the end that I'm going to be using the steel over the copper. While I do like the copper, I think it's too bright, and I don't think it really matches what they would do personally. And that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate all of the comments, the advice, the tips, and the encouragement that you guys give me in every single one. It honestly makes my week every single time you guys comment on these. So thank you so much. If you like what I did, please like, comment on it, let me know what your favorite one is, and subscribe if you liked what I do here. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a really good day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.